Many employers assess you on a group activity. You'll be asked to cooperate with other candidates to solve a problem, which might be abstract or physical. At RWE NPower, you study a brief and then work with the group to devise a business plan. In this exercise, Victoria, Barbara, Dale and Andrew are consultants who have been brought in to turn around a family-run business, Benton's Ice Supplies. The brief suggests that they carry out a SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats. The year is 1921, so the opportunities and threats facing the company include novel inventions like refrigerators and cars. So far, they've taken ice around in straw-lined boxes on horse-drawn carts. Then there's the challenge of ice cream. They've only thought of ice as a way of keeping things cold, not as something to eat. Employers use different criteria for assessment. Here they're looking for analysis and problem solving, thinking, teamworking, and interpersonal skills. The group have half an hour to study the brief and agree on their recommendations. Each candidate is observed by one assessor.
How should we come to a decision on this? Do we just want to debate it, or...?
Have a vote, I don't know.
Some sort of plan.
I like the idea of a vote, because then we're all
What will we be voting on, though?
sort of...
In any group activity, it's important to clarify what you've actually got to do to make sure you can achieve it. Time is usually very limited, so how are you going to allocate it? Who's going to keep you on track? And do you need to assign other roles? Often you have to reach agreement on a plan. How will you do that?
I mean, there's 4 tasks for us to complete, 4 points of analysis for us to do. Okay, so a market analysis of the circumstances in which the company operates.
If you're a quiet, reflective person, you may find it a bit uncomfortable to take the lead. But whether you lead or not, you do need to contribute. The assessors can only give marks for what they see and hear. If you don't voice your opinion, they've got nothing to go on.
Well, I think, obviously, if we look at strengths first, then they've always been one of the biggest ice suppliers.
Does someone want to write down?
Yeah, that's a good idea, yeah.
Do you want to be scribe?
Let's do that, Barbara. Okay.
It's hard to be scribe and contribute to the group. The assessors don't give marks for note-taking. If you do end up taking notes, make them very brief bullet points. We're going to spend a few minutes concentrating on each candidate. First, Dale. Don't get too involved in the discussion about ice. Think about the criteria. How well do you reckon he meets them?
Is everybody clear on what the SWOT analysis is first? Strengths and weaknesses
Yeah.
normally internal to the firm, whereas opportunities and threats external.
Oh, okay.
Normally.
We've never done that before. Okay, so obviously, strengths of the internal firm.
In terms of market share, we've got an increasing market share, rising to 37% in 1920.
Well, I did notice that the amount net that they're selling is going down.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Which is-
Yeah.
I think the company are quite traditional as well in their methods, and it's actually only been like sort of Paul and the family in the business who's actually trying to sort of move the company forward.
It's a weakness,
Some
yeah.
traditional.
Saying
That's
sort
the
of,
problem. It's run by an ageing sort of
inflexible.
Yeah. people done by
Just the whole,
they're not looking to the
methods.
future. They're not looking to the refrigerators. They're not looking to the ice cream, and they're not looking to the cars to be able to distribute the product.
I do agree with you that it does appear that from the sales figures of domestic refrigerators, in Chicago at least, it does appear there's very much an upward trend, somewhat exponential at that.
Yeah.
Question we have to ask ourselves is it a fad? Is it something which has reached its peak and will soon fall? So if we're asking ourselves that, we're asking ourselves, what are the big opportunities for refrigerators? What do they offer over the product we're selling, the ice?
When the candidates have left, the assessors score them on how well they demonstrated the criteria they're looking for.
Dale, please.
I think it's very rare at graduate level that you see somebody that can manage their emotions and manage people who are bordering on getting into an area of conflict.
Yeah.
Andy on one side of him and Victoria on the other.
Dale wants to present 3 options to the board: sell refrigerators, use motor transport, and start making ice cream. The others only want to present 2. See how he gets them to accept his point of view.
Looking at the people you have running the company, they're not going to, however much you say, they're too set in their ways to contemplate the motor car at this time.
Well, do we have to choose two?
I think if we present 3, they're just going to dismiss us
Yeah.
as presenting too many changes. I think we need to stick to 2, yeah.
They're
One
not
main
a
one,
company
one
that
sort
will
of
want to
subsidiary.
change.
Yeah, I think the refrigerator's quite a big thing.
It's
We've
just the growth,
discussed
the
that.
sheer
Yeah.
growth is quite difficult to ignore. If
No, I
And with
completely,
that,
I
I
completely
think-
agree with refrigerators. What I'm saying is that if there are 3 key opportunities for the firm to grow, why only present 2?
I think with the refrigerator, they're going to be able to see hopefully the potential for that. That's
think-
quite a big thing, and
I
then
think, yeah, you've touched on a key point there, Barbara. It's important to back up an argument by facts.
Facts and figures.
And the
We've got
background
the facts
information.
for the refrigerators. We don't.
If we put forward 3 ideas and we've justified them well, then we've
think-
presented the information, we've done our job.
True. But we need
You
to
see what I mean?
prioritise it.
yeah.
And I think something like the cars would have to come as a lower priority
Okay.
because of the fact we don't think they'll be able to accept them.
Okay, well, we could keep it with 3
Yeah.
and put it in a list of priority, yeah?
Yeah, I think that's
yeah,
good.
Okay.
that would
Okay.
work.
Excellent.
He had lots of positive body language. He was very open. His tone of voice was very calm, but confident. It was controlled. He was very persuasive. He was being knocked down quite a few times in terms of they only wanted to present 2 ideas in. He actually switched that all around in a very subtle way to actually get his 3 in. And he was going to put that in regardless. But the way in which he did it was so incredibly subtle, the way he was manoeuvring those. And his role, the reason I've marked him down a little bit on his thinking and his analysis is because quite often he wasn't doing the analysis. Other people were doing the analysis for him, but he was listening to what they were saying and he was facilitating the process and actually manoeuvring those pieces of information in order to then move the task forward. Very strong evidence of team working, very collaborative in approach. He asked for others' opinions. He acknowledged Barbara using her name. He did the same with Andy when he was talking about market share and the volumes going down. Hence why I've given him the high score on interpersonal skills, because I don't think you see that level happening very often at graduate level.
Andrew did less well on team working and interpersonal skills, but did better on analysis and problem solving. Can you see the difference in his interpersonal skills?
It requires a power source as well, electricity.
Yeah.
Needs a big
Task
down payment
itself
sort of
is-
setup, so
that's true, yeah.
it might be more. Businesses may prefer it to residential,
Yeah.
sort of, business.
How are we doing on
big,
time, by the way? We
a
seem to
restaurant
spend
or something
lots
like
of
that.
time on this.
We've
Don't wanna-
got about 20 minutes left.
Okay.
Okay.
So spend enough time on each point.
So,
So what
because-
threats do we have?
because refrigerators are really potentially quite a big threat to us, I think we can. How do we assess the market for that?
But again,
What
like
experience
We're
have we
not
got
going to be
selling
able to
food?
convince them to take on loads of different things
No,
at once.
that's
We're going to
true.
have to prioritise 1 or 2. If we sort of say, oh, let's go into ice cream and let's get cars and
But
let's go into
then- Yeah, I
fridges, they're
think
just
we're
going to
gonna-
dismiss us as black
Exactly.
holes. I mean, what are our actual options? We've got the car is one possible. We have the ice cream. There was another one.
The
wasn't there?
refrigerator.
The refrigerator. So those are the 3.
They're the 3
They're the 3.
developments. Yeah.
And how many of those do we think we could present?
The rest of the people who
difficult.
help run this company,
I think it'd be
they
too much
won't.
change.
They won't want the change.
Too much change at once.
If
yeah.
we
So
present
if
one
we
thing
then
at
go in and say, oh, we've got these
start
3
with and
changes,
then-
change
'cause
of
the-
how we run it and all sorts, then it's just
and they'll think their company, their family-run company that's been going for years, is being destroyed. Have we covered alternative uses of resources?
We haven't, but I think
I think the
it
ideas
may
we've
have been
got there.
slightly. Let's put it on there because we don't know a lot about the ice market, and I
Yeah.
think that we'd be teaching grandmother how to suck eggs, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, I
sort of-
understand what you're saying.
The only areas where I marked him down a little bit with team working and with interpersonal was around, at the beginning he sort of overrode and spoke over some of the other delegates about 3 or 4 times. He was sort of drowning them out a little bit. At one point as well, he was having sort of a sideline conversation with Dale about how they would present.
How do you
Okay.
feel about the amount of information you've got? Are you happy?
So are we all happy presenting, or are we all happy with these ideas so far?
Generally, he was quite clear, and then on the other side of that, he would mumble quite a lot, and I couldn't pick up what he was saying. I don't know if he was sort of talking to himself and talking through what he wanted to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think just
Even
because
though-
someone's
but-
said it might help. We don't have any facts or figures about ice cream.
Yeah,
we don't-
I think
you know,
we should probably ignore
big
that for now.
business, is it not? Not a clue.
So it's important to speak clearly in a group exercise. The assessors need to hear you in order to score you. They also need to see how you help the group complete the task, which includes encouraging quieter members to join in. Next, Barbara. The assessors weren't able to give her very high marks. That's because they only judge candidates on what they see and hear. And, perhaps because she was too busy making notes, Barbara didn't say much at all.
They're set in their ways. I don't know if it'd be possible to change their mind on these things.
Because it's only sort of one person in the whole business who's actually voicing any sort of views to try to change how they work.
Okay,
like
so
we've got their
the brand and stuff.
transportation, just
Brand,
the
yeah.
way they distribute things.
Like, so we're talking about inflexibility, the attitudes
Yeah, the
particularly
towards the
of
market conditions.
Yeah.
That she didn't really offer her own ideas. It was just a lot of agreeing with other people.
Do we accept it? Do we reject it?
I think we have to put.
And in terms of analysis and problem solving, I just had no evidence to give her any mark. Thinking, she didn't build solid cases at all. She said the benefits to selling to big businesses will be immense, but she didn't back that up. She said there's lots of scope for refrigerators, but again, that was it. She didn't expand it any further.
I definitely feel like I could have spoken more during the exercise. I think it might have been a little bit easier if we sort of established from the start, like, clear roles, who was going to do what.
Remember, the assessors are looking for evidence of your skills, so it's crucial to get involved. The assessors were impressed with Victoria's analysis and thinking, and how she kept things moving forward so the group achieved its objective. But they found her less strong at teamwork and interpersonal skills. Why do you think they did that?
I think, hang on, this guy, I've just reread this Sydney Cohen guy, who's the finance director. He would be interested in the refrigerators.
Where are we now?
2.2, where background the ice suppliers and managers. His brother's got a refrigerator and likes it. So, and this guy also doesn't like motor cars. So I think, looking at where people are going, I think the refrigerators would be the way forward, and would be the best one probably to suggest, because so many people are against the motor car, despite it being probably the thing that will increase their market. What do you think of this ice cream thing? I think it was Paul, I can't remember which one of them said we could go into ice cream,
Suggested by...
and all of the others. Can't find it now.
3.3.
Oh yeah,
So Paul believes that they should...
start producing ice cream. Because it sort of seems, part of it seems an obvious step to make. They deal in ice. They could make a product that goes with the ice. They could sell it at the same time as the ice. But then is that diversifying too far?
Victoria, with regards to analysis, was able to consider a number of different things. She looked at the advantages and disadvantages of most of the solutions. So she identified that for the refrigerators, why the ice cream options should be considered or not. Always multiple reasons given for each option. Also with regards to thinking, she evaluated the facts. She was able to identify the relationships, and she didn't really consider them just at face value. So there were evidence of her picking out numbers, percentages.
All of their money comes in the summer months, or most of it does. So if you look 10% in May and June, and then 14% in July and August, that's an awful lot compared to the rest of the year.
Although she did communicate her evidence on clearly, and there was good eye contact and nodding and smiling, there were times where she would look down mostly at her notes, so there was no building rapport with the team. So that was one thing. And there was actually no evidence of encouraging quieter members of the team to contribute.
You think everyone is trying to impress, so why would you stay quiet? Why would you stay to the back of the group? You've got to push forward. Well, that was what I thought. But obviously part of what the assessors are looking for is the fact that you are inclusive to other people, and they won't all necessarily be trying for the same job. It'll be working in a group of very different people across the spectrum when you're in the job. So you're going to have to bring the people forward who aren't necessarily always used to working in those group situations. I also ended up, and didn't even realise it, speaking over some of the other candidates, because I just was talking and obviously didn't notice them, which wasn't very good of me. When you're working in a team, you just assume there are always going to be quieter people, or I did, and didn't realise that you actively have to bring their opinions forward. But thinking about it now, you have to. Otherwise, there's no point in them being on the team if you're not going to hear about what they have to say.
Victoria, we were impressed at the level of enthusiasm, and she did cover a wide range of subjects and kept the group buoyed up and quite lively.
To summarise, it's important to clarify what the group task is and how you will actually achieve it. One of you needs to keep an eye on the time. Before you arrive at your assessment centre, you need to find out what criteria they will use. These might include communication skills, listening as well as speaking clearly, analytical skills, problem solving, drive, leadership potential, and crucially, teamwork. How well you help the group achieve the task, which involves timekeeping, organising, and making sure everyone has their say. The assessors are looking for evidence that you have these skills. They can only judge what they see and hear, so get involved.
Any role that you take up as a graduate, you will be required to interact on a very regular basis with a wide range of people. They may be colleagues, they may be senior colleagues, they may be customers, they may be other members of staff with whom you don't have any sort of power relationship as such, but you're persuading them that they need to help you for you to achieve your particular aims. When you're at university, be aware that these are skills that will be tested during the course of your applications for various careers, not just the technical skills. So when you are doing things like group exercises, or you're perhaps at work in a student bar with a team of 10 other people, pay attention to how you interact with them and how you can improve those particular skills, because they will come in, they will be noticed at the time you apply for positions and also when you're working. For a candidate to sit around and look at the floor or check their notes when other people are speaking, there's no way for the assessor to know that they're listening, paying attention. So I think you should give a reasonable level of importance to their body language and whether they look engaged with the people within their team. We look for people to be natural in order that we can really make a judgment as to A, whether they would be happy here, and B, whether they'd fit in here. The thing that was quite a pleasure to watch is when somebody is good at interacting with other people, and that generally means being calm and listening, or relaxed and listening to other people and bringing their views in and understanding points and referring back to what other people have said earlier on and working the group to some extent. And it's a pleasure to see that when you find somebody who's able to do that.